that sold me something on eBay that said, hey, it was a handwritten note from a 12-year-old, that said, thank you very much for your purchase. We appreciate it. And it reminded me of when I was 10 years old, except I didn't have eBay and didn't have all these options to buy singles online. So it was refreshing. So it just shows you kind of all generations are
Oh,
touching this thing.
the hobby's exploding and the happiness is absurd. Dustin, get in here. Let's tell, like, Dustin, like, Dustin, how much happiness has getting into collecting Pokemon and flipping Pokemon been for you?
Hey, sports card collectors and investors. I hope that everybody is having a great weekend. A little bit different backdrop. My family and I are on vacation, and so I'm actually sneaking around to try to get a little bit of space from my little ones. My wife's getting some work done, so thought I would make a quick video here today. And actually, I'm going to do something that's just kind of a little bit different, but I wanted to expound upon a conversation I was having with the Hobby Box this past weekend with Boris. And we were talking about, nostalgia playing into just kind of getting back into the hobby. And then, also I made a comment that, I think that this moment from 2018 to maybe 2021 is going to be that nostalgic time frame for a lot of, 10-year-olds to, 18-year-olds that are getting into this. Maybe they're getting into it with, their dad, their mom, or maybe they're getting into it, with their friends. But with it just being a big moment, in sports cards in general, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that this time frame is going to go down as, an important one, kind of in the history of, of sports cards, to where, 20 years from now, are people going to be talking about, this time frame and this is what kind of they're going back to? So in other words, are the 20-year-olds now, or the 15-year-olds now in 25 years, like I was, when they're 40, are they going to be saying, man, 2018, 2019, when Luka and Zion and everyone was hitting the scene and cards went crazy, that's when we got, into this market. Is that going to be is this going to be a critical time in sports card history? And I think that it is. I think that this is going to be one of those nostalgic moments, kind of like the junk wax era is for me. When cards exploded when I was a kid. I think that this is going to be one of those memorable times that people are going to have, that they go back to, that kind of prompts maybe a resurgence in sports cards 20 years from now. Because while I want to stay optimistic, I don't know, and maybe, I don't want to sound negative, but I don't know if sports cards is going to remain this hot over years and decades. I'd love for it to, but it might not. It might have just in a similar fashion to other collectibles and the stock market or real estate. I think there's going to be ups and downs. And is there? I have to assume there will probably be a point in time where prices level off, or there's a dip in interest. And so, or maybe there's just a change in how things are done. Maybe it's digital cards or something that hasn't really caught on yet, but maybe in 20 years, that's the only way that people do it. I don't think that'll happen, but you just never know. How is technology going to change sports cards and collectibles in general over the next 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years? And the more that I kind of think about, the cards that I have, I've been thinking more and more how, I want to hold more of these cards long term. I used to have kind of when I first got back in, I was always kind of looking at 12 months or less. I'm buying and I'm selling. Now I'm kind of thinking more along the lines of maybe more like 3 years, 5 years, and then for some cards, 10 years, 20 years, or forever, so kind of, long term. So I'm having kind of more of a long-term outlook on it, just based on how hot the demand has been. But what do you guys think about this? Is this something that you've thought about? Are you still in flip mode, or do you want to, just kind of flip cards and that's really it? Or, is there more of a long-term mindset? And then another question I do have is, which, cards do you think, because vintage for us now, if we're talking about, let's just use basketball as an example. Vintage basketball is, Wilt Chamberlain rookie cards, Lou Alcindor rookie cards, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Julius Erving rookie cards. But in 20 years, people are going to be looking at Luka Doncic rookie cards as vintage, for some groups. And so which guys, and actually I'm not going to ask about Luka and Zion, but which guys do you think from the early years, kind of like those Wilt Chamberlain, the Elgin Baylors, the Julius Ervings, which ones of those guys do you think are going to hold the most value? Do you think, it's just going to be kind of the Michael Jordans and the Magic Johnsons, Larry Birds, or do you think that, those players are going to continue to, gain ground price-wise? I think it's really interesting because there's always kind of that battle between, the players that are currently playing and their modern cards or, vintage cards. And, for guys that aren't necessarily playing anymore, vintage doesn't necessarily have to mean a 40-year-old card, but maybe, it's someone that's just not playing anymore. Maybe it's 20, 25 years ago. And so is this going to gain ground? Is there going to be, more, is this going to be more of a legitimized investment asset class? Will there be added regulation because of it? That's another thing that we have to consider. One thing that's kind of nice about collectibles investing is, there are tax ramifications for sure, but from a regulatory standpoint, there's not much regulation, which allows business to be more free flowing. Now, of course, sometimes regulation can be good, just depending on if there's bad actors getting into it that are taking advantage and there's different, problems arising. And, if that's something that happens in the sports card market, then maybe some regulation wouldn't be a horrible thing. But I think that we do a really good job of self-regulating ourselves for the most part. So I really hope that there's not, deep regulation in this market or collectibles in general. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on this. I've kind of thrown a few ideas out there. This video is more of kind of just opening up the discussion type video, not necessarily me talking at you, but more kind of just a few thoughts on these subjects. And I'm just curious for those, for those guys that are in it and gals that are in it right now that have young ones that are involved and you do it with them, whether that be ripping wax or buying singles on eBay. Mine haven't gotten old enough to really get into it yet. I'm hoping that they do. But for those of you, do you think that it is going to be something that they look back on in 25 years, and come back to? I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll be, they'll never stop. Maybe they've gotten into it now and they'll keep on, collecting and investing, and it'll be a very natural thing. Or, will they take a break from it, kind of like a lot of us do with just, other things pop up, and then come back to it down the line. So interested in hearing your thoughts. Again, sorry, I'm kind of throwing this video together on a whim here. I wanted to make sure I got, some content out today, but also this was just something that was on my mind, and I'd like to hear from my viewership as to, your thoughts. I've got a cool video that I'm working on for tomorrow. Again, it's going to be probably out of this room while we're traveling, but we'll get some stuff out to you, and hopefully you guys like it. So anyway, hope you're having a great day, and we'll be back to you soon. Thanks, guys.